fantasy in 3D opening in colors of the dawn. Castles in the summer breeze are drifting into make-believe. Starlight portraits burning into dust with every second pass, leaving you on, believing you will, believing you on, believing you will, believing you on.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Psychedelic here. Happy New Year to you all. For those that celebrate, this guy, not too much as far as drinking. I left all that behind. I've reached sobriety, so no. I've never been much for drinking or even going out for that matter to celebrate events like this, so just kind of kicked it back in here, did a little bit of cleaning, and yeah, it sounds like fun, but no, I just needed to catch up on a few things and make the place look nice, presentable. You know, it's starting to get kind of messy around the kitchen area, so, you know, what can you do? Anyways, just had a big breakfast. I came back from Village Inn, which haven't ate there in a while. Haven't really ate there by myself. I'm always with people, so yeah, those pancakes, man, they fill you up right away before the big omelet meal, you know. But you guys don't care about that. So yeah, I'm just kind of get myself together. I pull myself back together after that. So anyways, got some LPs here. These are all online finds except for one. And then, yeah, I picked this one up yesterday. And then got some thrift finds I'm just going to talk about briefly at the end. So let's dive into these online finds. I've had these for a while now, so these are all pickups from last year, you could say. And we're going to start off with a banger. T2. This is an archival release called 1970. And this is a reissue of an original release that came out in 1997. I forget the label, if it was Acme or who, but it might have been Acme originally. But basically, archive sessions from an acetate. Soon after they recorded It'll All Work Out in Boomland, they were still together for a short time, just pushing out a whole bunch of songs during like a few sessions. And even after this, they have even more sessions. There's one called 71, 72, which I haven't fully dove into yet, but yeah, can you believe it's been nearly a year since we lost Mr. Peter Dutton, who was kind of the mastermind behind this group. And you know, his involvement with Please and Bulldog Breed, well, he wasn't in there very much, but maybe at all, but those connections, though, he had members in T2 that would be in Bulldog Breed, like Keith Cross. We got Neon Pearl, amongst others, you know, the Flies. So it's kind of a continuation of that. So if you guys love It'll All Work Out in Boomland, I don't see why you would have a problem with this one. Honestly, I mean, it might sound a little crazy for some people, but I think I prefer this to their original Decca release. I've always liked Boomland, but there's a couple moments in there. It just gets kind of dramatic and kind of drawn out, I feel like, in some spots. And this one is a little more imaginative. I mean, there are some long tracks on here. The last two tracks on here, Fantasy and T2, but the way they just kind of jam on those tracks in particular, I feel like there's just better continuous jamming going on, but also further use of Mellotron throughout, especially on the track The Minstrel. And throughout the whole thing on this project, during these sessions, they have a nice blend of both that kind of heavy distorted style, but also kind of melodic and sort of in this kind of nearly pop psych vein with tracks like Careful Sam and Timothy Monday. You know, they kind of have like those soft, gentler moments, but they really crank it up after a while. And just a nice blend of the two styles, and I think it really works here. So yeah, you'll hear a bit of that acetate quality on here. I mean, they cleaned it up the best they could, but you can tell the passion for this writing just comes out full bloom. It's pretty miraculous. This is you know, this even got released and not like tossed away in the garbage bin or something, you know. So it's unfortunately they didn't release these at the time, but man, this would be quite the collector item nowadays if this had actually came out. I think it was supposed to be called Fantasy, and that's probably my favorite track on here. I love the lyricism that goes on, but also just the kind of freaky, like, distorted wall of feedback on that track as well. There's lots of instrumental sections on here too. Recommend this one, man. Highway. It's really like the heaviest track on here. It's the opening track. Could say a lot about this. This is the recent repress on Gearson. Get a shop hype sticker there. And yeah, it originally comes like that too in that outer shrink. So, okay, moving on. This is one that I discovered back in 2020. I've seen this one pop up online, you know, this image, and I thought to myself, hey, it's probably not much, but my local shop got this in like 3 years ago now, and I listened to it on YouTube a little bit, kind of streamed it, and I thought not much of it, and just kind of, I think I only heard like maybe half the album, and maybe I didn't hear the stronger tracks, but my buddy Alex, who I stayed with in Chicago last year, was kind of really raving about this one online. I was like, what did I miss? Why is he giving this such praise? I'm like, what? So I had to discover it myself, and yeah, this is a winner. So this is a band called Truth, and it's just self-titled, 1970, on the People label. And this is not James Brown's People label, even though, you know, they kind of came about at the same time. This is a very short-lived label, but I think this is a 5-piece band, even though there's 3 shown here. This guy here is actually still performing these days. I think his name's Michael. He's still around kicking it, and he's kind of the leader of the group. And I think, I don't know if it's this guy, but this woman was with was like engaged at the time. And it's like a couple is kind of like finding their way in these sessions doing background vocals. And they were both actor and actress, just chiming in, I guess, at the time. Just kind of, they must have met or something, contributing. But yeah, and then there's also like a drummer and bass player, guitarist. I think he's the guitarist, but cool connection here. There's a couple members that would be in the Bob Smith The Visit sessions, which Michael was a part of. It doesn't really sound alike, but you can tell it's got that kind of Californian stone style about it. And this one is still relatively cheap. I mean, you can still find these for like, you know, probably 20, 30 bucks at most. And I have to say, this is pretty strong overall. So it's obviously got those male, female vocals working for it, kind of in this folk rock vein. Got a great opening track, Heavy Forgotten. It's got these kind of baroque horn sections coming in, but it's just like soaked in this reverb, kind of giving it this really bright kind of exposure to the track. They got tracks like Wise Old Fool, Far Out, kind of mix a little bit of that harpsichord, lots of swaying harmonies, which I love. And then that's not even the strongest track. The track Thoughts, I gotta share that with you guys. I'm gonna drop it in here somewhere. But yeah, Thoughts. It's got this like Middle Eastern kind of sitar-driven West Coast sound. And they're very much doing that Jefferson Airplane vibe, you know, very much on that tip. So super cool record overall. I mean, there might be a couple duds on here, but if you guys love stuff like Yankee Dollar or like Love Exchange is a good example as well, it's not too far off. It's really, really strong. So picked this up for 10 bucks on eBay. I made an offer, so it's a score in my book. And I'll show the label here. then moving on, we got this one here. This is one I picked up on Discogs finally. These have been kind of getting kind of scarce as far as listings popping up, and it seems like they're always like in the $100 range roughly, and it's just didn't want to pay up that much, so kind of kept my eye on it for a while, asked for some photos of different copies, and this one's pretty suitable for me. And this is Troika. It's an often lauded psychedelic record from 1970 on Cotillion and self-titled. I just love how bare bones this is for like a major release. I mean, there's just no details like where they're from or anything, but I don't know how you pronounce it. Edmonton, Canada. That's where they're originally from, but they have like a background in Slavic, like sort of a Russian heritage going on. And just looking at these guys, you know, they kind of look like kind of gruff characters, like maybe you know, you just don't know what you're going to get into. Maybe some blues rock or something. And it definitely is on that blues rock tinge, but they do it in such a way that is like so freaky and kind of like in this Edgar Broughton band kind of manner. They always kind of reminded me of that in a way. Just the way the vocals are really gruff, and just the way they're just kind of wailing on that guitar. It's kind of a mixed bag of like instrumental cuts, but also some you know, compositions. But pretty much all the lyrics in this are, you know, you can't really take too seriously. I mean, they're just kind of, you can tell these guys are having fun cutting this record up, you know, and it's pretty solid. I got this for like half the price, $45, and I mean, just some of these titles: Rub-a-Dub-Dub, Troika in the Tub, Burning of the Witch, kind of got some witchcraft vibes going on, a little Sabbath-like. Rolling Down the Back Road probably has like one of the best guitar solo breaks on here. Really fun overall, and it kind of concludes on a strong point too. Go East, Young Man, beautiful pink eyes. And I always think of Dom Seeking a Thread when he talked about this, how he thought the vocals kind of sucked. And I mean, I agree, they're not great vocals, but you can tell these guys were just, you know, having kind of fun with this whole kind of perverse like subject matter and stuff going on. It's just a fun record overall. So, and these guys would send tapes down to Atlantic Records, you know, which is a subsidiary of this label, trying to get some traction going, trying to make it in the market. And finally, about 2 years later, they finally land the deal, and supposedly had some Cotillion execs, you know, kind of watching in the studio as they recorded, and they also toured with some big bands too, like Mountain, notably, and Canned Heat, Blue Cheer, amongst those bands, Savoy Brown. So makes sense. And they toured like oftentimes like New York, Toronto, Detroit, around those areas. So yeah, cool record, definitely a keeper, and it's just one I've been trying to seek for a long time. I don't think there's a repress of this, unless it's like on CD, but yeah, it may have to happen eventually. Okay, and then this is one that I was kind of reminded online. You know, someone had given this another posting, and I'm like, you know, this is one of my all-time favorite top UK groups of its caliber. And you know, I look back on this on Rate Your Music because I got an account on there, and I rated this thing back in like 2011. I mean, this is how far back this one goes for me. And I've never owned a vinyl copy. You know, they're just always up in that $70 to $100 range, even for reissues. So I finally bit the bullet. I had made some funds, you know, and just decided to blow half of it on this finally. So this is a Kaleidoscope's second effort. This is Faintly Blowing. Not a Fontana original, but this is a 5 Hours Back, which I also have for Tangerine Dream. My only complaint about those pressings, they're very flappy sleeves, you know, so it's got a little bit of creasing and stuff, but not bad for being from the 80s, older than me. So yeah, what can I say about this? I mean, they really can't excel a debut like Tangerine Dream. I mean, nothing can really surpass that, but this definitely has the goods yet. Peter Daltrey's writing really comes through, really shines vividly with a lot of imagery, a lot of colorful illustrations going on in your mind listening to it. But there's some strong tracks on here for sure. The title track might be my favorite, Faintly Blowing. It's got this kind of, very simple rhythm, upbeat, and I love how they kind of go in like this freak beat mode kind of in the middle of the track out of nowhere, just for like 10 seconds. It's kind of cool. And then Snapdragon, if You So Wish, might be a little too light for me on this one, but The Feathered Tiger, Black Fjord, and Music, ending on that note. It's got a lot of phasing effects. They get a little heavier on this one and arguably more psychedelic, you could say, but pretty strong overall. I've wanted this for a long time. It's just, didn't really feel like it at the time, hunting down a $80 copy, but not going to complain. I paid about that much, so 5 hours back, got a great fidelity, great clarity to the record, and I have no desire really to hunt down originals of these. I love the band, but if I can just acquire them, I'm satisfied, But I'm definitely looking out for a Vertigo pressing of Fairfield Parlor down the road. I've been keeping my eye on a few copies, and relatively cheap. Compared to albums on Vertigo, it's around 100, 150 roughly for decent copies. Okay, and then this one, I didn't really look up the backstory to this one in full, but this is one I spotted in the shop when I went in there yesterday. Traded a little more stuff in and already had some store credit. Just figured I'd part with some of those thrift scores, that I had last month, and some of those are actually keepers. I'm keeping that Kraftwerk and Bob Marley yet, so. But this is one, I was kind of surprised to see this in the shop, dropping in, and you just don't see these all the time in this area. And this is, how do you pronounce his name? Mustafa Askent, I believe he's a Turkish artist. And I'm not even going to pronounce the album title, not just yet. Gatefold. This is a reissue from 2006. Great sound quality. This is a Finders Keepers pressing of this. And what can I say about this? It's basically all instrumental. Kind of comes off like library music. Is that the right term for this kind of stuff? All instrumental, very deep grooves on here, very funky. And of course, naturally, it's going to have a lot of psychedelic overtones with, the whole culture blending into the sound production, and very percussive, very fuzzy, very, I don't know. I gotta sink into this one a little bit more. I haven't even written a review out for this one yet, or sunk my teeth really into these liner notes, but just super happy to come across this. I listened to this maybe 2 years ago, and it just didn't really gravitate with me at the time, but like I say all the time, I'm trying to gravitate towards different sounds, and appreciating different cultures and stuff like that. So it's just one that, one of those covers that is just eye-striking, it just never leaves your memory. So I knew what I had here, but I gotta spend some time with this one yet. I do like it though. Very, very contemporary for its time. I feel like it's just very fresh, very juicy. That's kind of the word that comes to mind listening to this. Very juicified. Very cool. And then I'll show those 3 that I found. So one of these I found a while ago, and then I found 2 yesterday, which I'm sharing for the first time now. I actually didn't take a photo like I usually do in those thrift shops, but I found 2 of those yesterday. But this one I found at Goodwill. This is Chris and Lee. I knew exactly what this was. I knew it was like a gospel kind of teenage folk LP, psych folk maybe. Not so much psych folk. It's kind of straightforward folk writings, very much in that kind of gospel inspired vein. I think they were from Texas, and they got original writings on side 1, and then they do some cover variations on the second side. California Dreamin', If I Were a Carpenter, La Linea. Yeah, contemporary songs at the time. So haven't really listened to this in full yet, but what a score. 50 cents, I think. It's a good one. I don't know if I'm going to flip it yet, but it's a cool find. And then found these at it's like a Christian thrift shop, which oftentimes I never come out with anything from this shop, but I was kind of feeling it yesterday. I had plenty of time just to kill in the afternoon, so I was actually surprised I came out with anything, because oftentimes it's just Chud City, Came out with a super crisp copy of Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart, Test Patterns, A&M Records. Sleeve's got a little bit of ring wear, but when I've seen these things are thrashed. I mean, just destroyed. The vinyl, though, is super, super nice. It's got a little dust there, but yeah, very nice vinyl copy. And that's got this little insert here. I don't know if it's like a promotional thing, if they all came with this, but let you guys read that if you can. And yeah, I listened to this. I hadn't listened to this in years. I kind of sampled it online years ago, but it's got some cool moments. Shadows, I think, was a standout. I think the last track was really disappointing from what I remember. It was like a bluesy track. No. But the rest of this, pretty solid. I thought this always had their hit, I Guess I Wonder What She's Doing Tonight. Is that what the track's called? Yeah, I think it is. I always thought it was on this record, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't an album cut. I don't know. But I think their last one on A&M, I'm kind of on the hunt for. You don't see it very often, but I think that's like their most Baroque pop, psych pop driven kind of stuff, but still a cool pickup. And then this one, I had no idea what this was till I looked it up. Seems to be selling for good money. This is Moni. What's the title of this? I guess it's called Mommy, Born in a Faint Streak of Light. It's kind of like a Christian LP, but I just kind of looking at the back and seeing what it was all about. Gatefold there. Had no idea what this was about, and it sells for a little bit online. It's about like 30 bucks roughly. And I kind of gave this a brief sample last night on my turntable, and it's got some funky elements to it. It's not really boring at all. It's very lively from what I've heard, and looks like some people are trying to track this down, so cool pickup. So hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of some of these records here that I shared, the first 5 anyway. I'll try to drop some samples in of that Truth record perhaps, and maybe down the line I'll drop some samples within the video. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I mean, I try to check out copyright all before I film these, so we'll see if it happens or not. But yeah, copyright seems to be, as far as like music goes, pretty lenient. I mean, they seem to be helpful for people like me trying to shed light on some music, so we'll see what happens. Anyways, have a safe new year, and hopefully we can get things turned around for the better. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we shall see you soon.